Starting this podcast was an unexpected step of obedience of something that God has called me to do. Through this podcast, I will be interviewing ordinary people who have seen and experienced God move in extraordinary ways throughout their lives. I pray that this will build your faith and encourage you to testify of God's goodness in your everyday lives. Hey guys, and welcome to the Testify of God's Goodness podcast. I have Shane and Morgan Ennis with us today, and they're going to share a little bit of their testimony and how God's been working in their lives. So let's talk about how do we know each other. So go ahead.
We went to Cape and Bridge
Yes.
together. Of course, yeah, we did have class together.
And that's in middle school.
Middle school, yeah. Yes, sorry. And then, of course, went to high school together.
Yeah.
Even had class in college, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I graduated with your brother. That's how. Yeah. I'm a little bit older, but that's how I came to know you guys. And then, of course, you babysit my precious nieces. So.
Yeah. Okay, so how did you guys meet?
Okay. So we're both from here.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we met down at Myrtle Beach in a high school baseball tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first day, I was hanging out with Dane Hevner. I guess I could do name drops.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at that time, he was dating Morgan's sister. Mm-hmm. And he's like, hey, let's go down to the hot tub where they're at, where Allie's at. I was like, okay, whatever,
Yeah.
So we went down. And Allie came out, of course, hugged Dane because they haven't seen each other in a couple of days or whatever. Uh-huh. And then Morgan came out, and that's when we kind of met each other.
Yeah.
She came out and hugged me, actually.
And did you really?
I don't know why.
And like I said, we didn't even know each other, so it was like, all right, like this is it, Yeah. I guess I knew she was like a senior. I didn't really know her, but I knew she was a senior. So I was a freshman at the time, so. Like, of course, I was like happy about it, but anyway, so we actually met at Myrtle Beach, even though we lived 15 minutes apart most of our lives, I guess. Only 15 minutes apart, but yeah, that's where we met. Yeah.
It's so funny because I just had a flashback. I had Spanish class with you, Shane, when you guys started talking, and I remember when you came back from it, and you were like, bragging about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I texted. I texted my best friend, Josh Snyder.
Yes.
I texted him. It's like, dude, you're not going to believe this. Yeah. When I came in because remember we always sat in the gym in the morning times when we first got there. And whenever I first, came in, and for me to show that it was legit what I texted him that I was kind of dating Morgan, you would sit with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Yes. So, of course, I sat with her, and he's like, no way. I mean...
Well done.
It's worked out so far, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so what part of your all's testimonies do you feel led to share today?
Let me go.
Yeah, I like your testimony a lot.
All right. Well, I guess I'll share my kind of my first big one that I've shared about. So after college, it was the summer after college, 2018. Of course, I played baseball my whole life, so the plan was to get drafted. Mm-hmm. That was my only goal, basically, in life, because that's what I've done my whole life. Mm-hmm. So I knew that's what I was supposed to do. So Morgan and her brother Seth and I were working out at Valley Health in their weight room, and we were watching the draft. So I was a senior, and we knew it probably wouldn't be like the first 2 days because normally if you're a senior, it's the last like couple rounds later on because they don't pay you as much. Mm-hmm. So anyway, and we're watching it. It was the third day. I get a phone call from Grand Junction, Colorado, and I was like, I want to answer it. I was answering no matter what it said.
Yeah.
Like it could have said like Sirius XM, and I was answering it.
Yeah.
So I answer it, and he says, hey, this is so-and-so with the Rockies. We're thinking about picking you up. If I call you back, we drafted you. If I did not call you back, you didn't get drafted. Awesome. Thank you. So we were too excited. We stopped working out, and we went to Main Street to eat.
Yeah.
And we were sitting there watching it, and the draft was finally, it was over, and I never got a call. So it was like, oh man, like my whole life, this is what I'm supposed to do. So Nana and Aunt May come over. Morgan called them and said, it didn't happen. So they came over to where we were living, and of course, we all hugged and stuff because it was like it was kind of like an end of baseball life, I guess, if that's a good way to explain it. So anyway, and Nana was like, "I got something to tell you." So the year before, it was the year before. The year before, there was a evangelist. Dan Kramer was at Nana and Papap's house, which is Morgan's grandparents.
That's where we lived. That's
where we were living, yeah. So we were out eating with them, and I walked away. We knew kind of Dan Kramer. Morgan's known him forever, and I just kind of started to meet him. So when we walked away, we were going to bed, I think, and he said that boy is not going to play baseball like the rest of his life. That's not what God has in store for him.
Wow.
So Nana wisely didn't say anything about it because she wanted to see it pan out, and she's a very faithful, wise woman. So she told me that, and it was like, oh man, that is crazy. Like that was my life. And it was kind of like that was it. That part of my life was over. So she said that, I was like, oh, that's pretty deep. That's crazy. So then the next day, the same phone call, he calls me, and he said, "Hey man, we messed up. I went to the bathroom or the restroom, and they drafted a senior out of a D3 school or somewhere out of Florida. And he doesn't even want to play. Go play somewhere, and then we'll fly you out. We'll pick you up. We'll fly you out to us."
Wow.
And it was like right away, I thought of what Nana said, and it was like, do you go with your fleshly instincts and see how it works out, which normally doesn't work out good,
right?
Or do you go with what kind of wise Nana said, kind of prophesy, what Dan Kramer kind of prophesied over you? So I ended up telling him no, I'm not going to do it. And since then it's been kind of skipping forward, but I mean since then we've been obviously more involved with kind of church, which we've been getting older to be able to do that with youth ministry and stuff. Right now we're, I guess, youth ministers at Kirby. Backstory with that, but I don't know if that's all I'm supposed to do or that's getting me to where I'm supposed to be as a stepping stone, or maybe that is, and then later on down the road it's maybe being a lead pastor or one of us being a lead pastor, just us kind of encouraging each other, because it helps having a kind of co-youth pastors. And I think of Lisa and Alan Fields. That's literally what I think of, and of course they're awesome. They're so wise too, but like I said, so there's a plan for me. There's a plan for us through that, because since 3 years old, that's all I've done, and now I kind of help, when I can, I guess. So yeah, something's out there for us, or for me, I guess, but we're kind of waiting to see what that is. But
well, and something kind of cool, that not really cool, but we kind of got to see God work things out, because that was in June or July. When is the draft? I don't know, June or July. So June, let's say 4 months later, Shane was out setting up his deer blind to go hunting, and he coughed up blood. And so for some reason he called my dad to see, and told him he didn't. And they're like, "Oh, it's probably just strep."
I think it's a strep throat.
I'm okay. So I was freaked out, but then a few months later, right? Or a month or so later, he coughed up blood again. It was a snow in November, and it got in the snow, and so it freaked me out. And so that's when we were all living with Nana, and so I took him to the emergency room, and they referred him out to an ENT. And fast forward, I knew the ENT, thankfully, and then in January he coughed up a lot of blood one morning, and so I sent a picture to the ENT, and she was like, "You need to get to the emergency room. This is not. I don't think this is what we thought it was." Because they diagnosed him with GERD, It's kind of,
Okay.
like, okay. So we went, they did like a CT scan and they found a nodule in his lung, in his right lung. So fast forward to that, they get him on a Wednesday. So like that was Saturday. The following Wednesday, we saw a pulmonologist. And that Friday, we met with a surgeon. Like she called him, because she was
Wow.
like, "This is not like obviously normal. It's not good." And so we met with the surgeon, and then Monday he had surgery. Well,
Pretty fast,
it all happened so fast.
Wow.
So the following Sunday, Shane was doing so great. Like you wouldn't even know that he had lung surgery. Like he came home Monday, the same day as the surgery. And so Sunday he got up and like kind of gave a little testimony at church, like, God's so good. He recovered great from it. Sunday night, we were on our way home from church, from youth, and we were driving, and Shane, like, all of a sudden was just in pain. Like, Shane has a very, like, high pain tolerance. So when he's in pain, like, it's bad, and he could hardly stand up. And so he got out of the truck. I actually drove his dad's truck the rest of the way home. And so we got out and we were walking in his parents' basement and like just praying and calling people to pray. And I was like, he just had major lung surgery. Like maybe the stuff's wearing off. I didn't know what was going on. And I had to go back to work the next day. So I went to work. God love him. And that afternoon he had an appointment with the pulmonologist. Well, come to find out, his lung had collapsed. And so we end up, at 2 a.m. making it to a Nova. Yeah, there's fluid, free fluid around his lung. Like a bunch of stuff happened. So we ended up back at a Nova that Tuesday morning. They actually told me, like, you're going to have to drive him. You don't have time to wait the 3 hours. We're going to have to wait for an ambulance to transport him. So that was a little nerve-wracking. So we drove him there. Wednesday morning, he ends up in emergency surgery to get out some infection. They still can't really figure out what in the world is going on, what the nodule really was. And so tests came back that it was like a certain fungus. But normally it's a fungus that people can fight off.
Okay.
So with that, they had to test out to see what medication he could have. And there's this medication, was awful, but it's the one that would kill the fungus. Pretty much the only thing.
Antifungal,
yeah, antifungal medicine. It's pretty rare. So what was that? Thursday he got that medicine, and he seemed to be doing well. He was actually like falling asleep. Do you want to tell this from your perspective?
Yeah.
I think,
yeah, because then you need to say it from yours too, I guess.
Okay.
Because of course they're two different ones. So I tried sleeping. They said here in an hour. We're gonna give it to you here in an hour. It's gonna kick in. There's gonna be like cold chills in that. And I'm like, I don't mind when I'm kind of sick and have cold chills. I could sleep. Like I actually sleep good. So I was like, I'm gonna sleep through it and then wake up and it's over. So Morgan was, I think, in the shower there at the hospital, and it like woke me up. I was like really shaken. I explained it like, what is it like?
Bacon.
Like sizzling bacon. Like I couldn't stop shaking. Like I was thinking, like I was trying to be tight and like stop.
Yeah.
So then I was like, Morgan, like I was like, not trying to freak everyone out by yelling, but I was like, Morgan, trying to get her. So she comes in, and did you go out and get the nurse, or we hit the button or something?
No, I didn't hit no button.
So
I looked out and I was like, I think I need help.
Because I think all my screens were kind of going crazy.
Yeah, they were starting to go crazy.
So anyway, and then I don't know. It felt like seconds later there was people running in with the red backpacks, the quick response team. Is that what they're called?
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, and they're like freaking out. Everyone's like running around.
Yeah.
And I'm like sitting there watching it. Of course, I'm like hopping in not so dramatic, but it was like crazy enough where I was like I couldn't stop myself. So anyway, and I remember them ripping my what's it called, hospital gown thing, and putting those pads on my chest, and I was still awake, so I was thinking, this is gonna hurt. I hope they don't do it. It's about to hurt. And then I pass out, and then Well, I guess now you can just
Tell
give
my
your
side.
because you were like you were awake. I wasn't.
Yeah, it was awful. So I did go out and I was like, I think I need help because like some machines were going off and it was like 9 o'clock at night. So I feel like things kind of calmed down.
Yeah.
And I did, like Shane said, we didn't want to like alarm anybody. And so, the nurse came in and whenever she saw and like read his stats because his oxygen was dropping really low, but he was going into like tachycardia. So his heart rate was in the 200s. And it was literally like something you see on TV. They push the code button and like his bed goes back and like the hospital shut down, like elevators, everything.
Oh my.
And this emergency response, right? Yeah, code blue. And this emergency response team comes and like I have never seen so many people in a hospital room. It was like crowded, and so like I was getting shoved back in the corner behind like a recliner because I was like at that point I was frozen. I was just like I don't know what to do. He is obviously not okay because, when you see somebody like that, it's just alarming.
Especially somebody that you
love, yeah. So, I remember I like looked up and made eye contact with the nurse and she was like, you have to get out of here, and like drug me off. And like, that's when I saw them getting like different medicines and like shots they were giving him and then the pads. And so, I was upset and they took me to sit at the nurse's station while they worked on him. And I could see his stats. I could see his heart rate and then his oxygen and like the blue lights were blinking. It was crazy. And so I just start praying.
Yeah.
And, my Nana, she told me while I was in the hospital, Shane, to read Psalms. And so I was just praying and praying and praying. And the nurse looks at me and is like, keep praying. And I'm like, you're not supposed to tell me that. Please don't tell, like, don't you have this kind of thing. I was just like, oh no. But I just kept praying. And since his medicine was so rare, they could not find the medicine to reverse it. Like, since he was having a reaction to it, he was going into anaphylactic shock is what was happening.
He didn't have it on the floor.
Yeah. And so
reverse like medicine or whatever it's called to stop it from happening.
It was awful. And, we were almost 3 hours away from home. They would not let me call and talk to anybody because they were like, you're going to get people, like, we want everyone to be safe and you're going to get people upset and probably like driving here. So they worked on him for a good hour. And they took me back because he was kind of stable, but he wasn't awake. And they told me they were going to intubate and put him in ICU. And I was like, God, no, I can't, to see somebody you love fighting for their life. And then you're like, I have to sign all these papers. It was hard, but I was just like, I'm not letting this happen.
Yeah.
And so I was praying and praying and his stats started raising. And like, I called the nurses, let me call his dad. And I was like, he coded, but he's okay. Like, they were getting ready. They had the room in the ICU, but they're saying he might be okay and we can stay in like the step down because he was in the critical care unit the whole time he was there. And so like, that was just an amazing thing. We saw God literally pull him through. And I think about, if he would have taken that chance and gone to Colorado, the elevation and stuff, he had that nodule in his lung. You never know what could have happened. Yeah. And then, he would have been so far away from us. It really could have been a whole different story.
That wasn't allowed to fly.
Yeah, he could not fly.
We had a trip to Disney World with our friends the week I was in, the second time I was in the hospital. Yeah. That weekend we were supposed to leave. It was like February 2nd, 3rd or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it'd be the first time I think we both ever went. We have shirts still on the hanger.
Oh, you guys.
So our friends came and saw us. And it's like, and when they were leaving, I was like, well, you guys have fun. I'll be here.
Yeah. Well, and it was so kind of ironic because he obviously recovered from that. Yeah. Obviously, that medicine did not work. So he ended up coming home with a PICC line. But we couldn't go home until the following Monday. So it was a week away from our son, Ripken, which was difficult. But it was Super Bowl Sunday. And so we got like the nurses, we got a bunch of pizza and stuff, and we were watching it, and like Tom Brady and them won. I don't know what team he was on. But you know what they say? What are you gonna do? They literally, so we could have been at like the parade they do at Disney, and they were sending us Snapchats of him in the parade, Tom Brady just going by. We're like, oh, we're just here. But yeah, we were definitely blessed through that trial. And, you know, we also went through the trial of losing my granddad. And I just think all of these things has just led us to where we are today, to kind of build that faith and say, okay, I brought you through this. Okay, I brought you through this. And then now kind of like the big thing that we have recently gone through, it's like, even though we had to go through so much heartbreak and a lot of traumas, you know, it's just given us kind of like stepping stools to, you know, kind of reach and get up to, you know, the point to where our faith is now, just how it's built that
stronger.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't, you know, say in the Bible being a Christian's easy, and that, you know, once you know, accept your faith, that everything's kind of smooth flowing.
Yeah,
you know, it's honestly it's kind of the opposite, because the devil's going to attack people he doesn't have, you know, or he doesn't have a grip on. And that's something that it's hard for us to think about as Christians, because when something bad happens, it's why me?
Yeah.
And I was actually in Dollar General last year, and I was talking to Vivian Cochran, Pastor Max's wife, and you know, she was going through stuff too at the same time, so we kind of had something to kind of bond about. But and she said that she was like, there's times like, you know, you want to ask why, but, you know, we don't ask why. You know, we know he's got it. So I was like, you know, you're wise. That's why you're wise, you know. So it was cool talking to her about it, and her just saying that, because, you know, her being like, if I'm kind of down here and if she's up here, you know, same with like Nana to me, like they're up here. So hearing her kind of say like, you know, we do want to ask why, but we just got to keep faith. It's like, it's good stuff, you know, especially when bad things are happening. It's kind of one of the things I told our youth, you know, there's what we don't think about. There's two people in this world kind of playing the game. You know, there's God and the devil. And not that we want to give the devil credit for anything, because he doesn't deserve anything, but you know, he does play a role in our lives too. You know, the negative stuff. But like I said, that's something, I don't know, it kind of hit me one day. I was like, you know, you never think of, you know, the devil's there too. It's always like, why God, why would you let this happen, or why would you do this? It's like, you know, I guess it's maybe getting wiser in it. We're kind of thinking about it more. I don't know, 45 minutes to work there and 45 minutes back, you have a lot to think about. And that's one of those things that hit me. But yeah, like Maria was saying, all this kind of hard stuff that happens, it kind of builds your faith.
For sure.
Part of this cancer testimony that I guess we'll talk about here in a second was, I would tell people, if I'm sitting in the mall and there's a little play area in the mall and Leia's running around, our almost 3-year-old running around, and I'm sitting next to someone else that's going through something that I've been through, you know, it's easier to relate to somebody who's been through it than, hey, I know how you feel, but they know you don't know how they feel. So I think that's why kind of bad stuff happens, where we can relate to people. And as Christians, that's where we, you know, kind of take hold of it and use it. Maybe that'll happen, maybe not the mall, but you know, it's,
you never know.
You never know. But that's kind of my example of maybe this happened for the reason of to relate to somebody.
For sure.
Yeah,
that's so good. Yep, go ahead.
So this morning I get the Bible app. It's like my home screen for my phone. And of all mornings, the verse of the day is James chapter 1 verses 2 through 3, and I'm reading out the New Living Translation. But it says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow." And I think that's like exactly what you're kind of talking about. All of these tests, all these trials, we've just learned to kind of, well, not learned, but our endurance and to face things has really grown through it.
Yeah. And I don't know about you guys, like I hate feeling like all the hard emotions, like sadness and anger, just any hard things. Like I just want to feel joyful all the time. But if we only felt joy, like our faith would not be stronger, because we wouldn't need anybody else. We wouldn't need anything else to like rely on. But we like, when we are going through those hard times, like we can turn to God in the highs and the lows in life, and like just trust him with it. And I think about you said earlier in Psalms, right? And sometimes like when David is crying out, I'm like, whew. In the other psalms, I'm like, this seems a little disrespectful. Like, but in hard times that I've gone through, I've been like, God, this, for lack of better words, I'm just being honest, I would be like, God, this sucks. Like, I don't know why I'm going through this, but I know that you're good. I know that you're going to get me through this. And like, hindsight's 2020. Like, and we're going to talk about later, like what advice you would give yourself like 5 years ago. And none of us probably would have predicted that we would have the stories that we do now 5 years ago. So it's just awesome to partner with God. Like, I think a lot of people think when they become Christians that it's going to hinder them, or like, I know talking to people in college, they'd be like, I'm going to accept Christ like when I get my own family, like when I settle down. But for one, like we never know when our last day is. But I've lived on both sides. Like I've not lived for Christ, and like now I'm living my life fully for Christ, and it's so much more abundant, and like it's so much better serving Christ, right? The Bible says that the devil came to steal and kill and destroy, and when you're living for worldly things, like that is who you're living for. And like, but Christ came to give us life, and life to the fullest, life more abundant. So I just always try to encourage people in that. Like, it's not a big rule book. Like it's awesome to be able to just take like one step of obedience for Christ and to serve him. But yeah, that's so good. I love when God works like these verses into our lives. So let's move on to the questions. So what was your all's reaction when you found out about the cancer?
I'll go first because Shane, so when we were told, it was actually right after his colonoscopy. And so Shane was still a little loopy from the medicine. I was like, I kind of knew that something was wrong, just because the symptoms that he was having, no normal 20, how old were you? 6-year-old, or 27-year-old, has that. And, I was actually in the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror the night before his test because I was a little nervous. And prepping for a colonoscopy is never fun.
Oh, I've had to do it once.
It's not. God
not for the
bless
faint
you.
of heart.
It's not
miserable.
Not. And so I was like, just praying for Shane, and like I looked in the mirror. This might sound weird, but I felt God say, "After tomorrow, your life's never going to be the same."
Wow.
And so I kind of expected something's going to happen. Like, this is not going to be what we think it is. And Shane will tell you later what he thought it should have been.
Yeah.
Later.
It's funny that you say that, because like you're like, like obviously worried about me. I was probably out like just drinking Gatorade, eating Jello, not even thinking.
Drinking your chicken broth.
Oh
yeah. My gosh.
No,
but
it's just fun.
I know, and I'm like all worried. But I just had a feeling of peace. But like I feel like God was really preparing me so I wouldn't be like, I don't know, feel like a ton of bricks hit me.
Yeah.
So when they took him back, like it's so crazy because I took a picture of us holding hands with like it, just things that I did. I'm like, it's just crazy that I did that, but I knew that it was going to be something. So when they took him back, like I'm a nervous wreck. He comes back and he's goofy anyway, but good gravy on that medicine. It was hilarious. And so we were FaceTiming Allie, and my Aunt Chetty was there. Yeah. And Shay was like, "Are you an angel?" He was hamming it up.
That's wasn't even like, I was normal.
Right? But so, we were having a good time. And the nurse came in and was like, after, he can kind of get himself together, you're going to go through here into the left into the office. And my heart sunk.
Meet with the doctor.
Yeah. Because I had heard the doctor come back and talk to people like, oh, you have some polyps and we're going to send them away. But, you should hear something in 5 to 10 business days.
Yeah.
And I saw him go out and to the right. And so I was like, kind of got like, okay, Shane, you got to get yourself together. We have to go meet with the doctor. And so he got dressed. And we went into the office, and it was 2 chairs, a box of tissues, and then like a desk in the chair behind it. So I was like, here we go. I was not thinking cancer at all. At all. But I just knew, I thought, well, he's going to have to go in for surgery, immediately or something. And so the doctor came in, and I could tell by his face, like, it looked like he had just seen a ghost. And so I don't know if you're allowed to do this, but I heard I've been swiped on my phone and hit video record because I was like, I'm going to need this information.
That's
because
so
I don't
smart.
think it was God. It had to be the Holy Spirit guided me because, I was like, what I'm about to hear, I'm probably not going to be able to process.
Yeah.
And so
I was thinking about
the way you're giggling is terrifying.
I was thinking about like hibachi after.
Yes.
100%. Like from when she said, come on, let's get ready, to sitting down, like not once without thinking about anything bad. Like it was
hilarious.
It was, I haven't eaten in like 24 hours. No, we're getting hibachi after this.
Yeah.
That's a little I thought about.
Oh my
Did
God.
you guys still get hibachi?
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay, good. There you go.
I had a great time.
He did. So the
my
doctor
gosh.
sat down, and he was like, he scooted the papers, and I saw like pictures, obviously, but like black in the pictures. And he was like, I don't know how to tell you this, but you have colon cancer. It looks like you have colon cancer. And I was just like, I don't know. I was not expecting cancer. So that it did kind of take my breath away. And I was trying not to cry because Shane wasn't crying, so I didn't want to cry.
Yeah.
And the doctor was like, obviously he knew I was trying not to cry, and he was like, it's okay. I'm just as distraught as you. Like the doctor was so upset. His mass was huge. We had been going to doctors, a lot of doctors, emergency rooms, trying to figure out what was going on, and never got answers. But he had this, huge mass in his colon. And so, that it was a blow, but God really made it a little bit of a softer blow just by, the Holy Spirit speaking into me and, literally saying, just get ready. Your life's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
So it hurt. I just thought about like my Nana. She's so wise and she's been through so much. And I'm like, okay, our family's been through a lot. We can get through this. But Shane's perspective is a little different.
Okay. Do you laugh when, like, in
Always.
bad situations or like awkward situations?
I told him he's a psychopath because he just laughs.
We got a story on that. On that word. Because I've only heard that word like 5 times in my life.
Okay.
And like 4 of them have been like the past like year.
Yeah.
So anyway, like, no one ever says that. Anyway, so like I said, I was just excited about hibachi.
Yeah.
So they bring me in, didn't think anything of it. And we're sitting there. He puts the pictures down. I'm like looking at them. And he said, you have colon cancer. And I was like, I said, you're supposed to say it was hemorrhoids. And when he didn't laugh,
He said that to the doctor.
when he didn't laugh, I was like, this is legit. Like, I was thinking, like, I think I asked, I was like, well, like, I said, is this like serious? Like, how long do I have to live? Like, is this like a 5 months or like a 10 years? What are we looking at?
Yeah.
Sorry. And, of course he was like, of course he didn't answer. Like,
He said it's pretty serious.
Yeah, he said it's pretty serious.
How big of a deal is this? And he said it's pretty serious.
You could, and then you could just say it's a big deal. You don't say serious.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I did say that, but hibachi was definitely in my mind because I don't eat. I can die just as fast. So, now I don't think, did we talk about how it all first started? I don't think we did we?
No, I didn't know if you wanted to.
Well, it's not. So it was the first Sunday in November.
Oh yeah, actually,
last
this
year.
is very relevant. Oh my God,
Yeah, I didn't think about it, but I got up early in the morning.
But where were we the day before? That's what's in YouthCon.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, YouthCon's always was always that first weekend.
Yeah.
So we did. Yeah, we went to YouthCon because we go Friday and Saturday.
And we took our whole youth.
Yeah, it's awesome. It is so much fun.
And we just praise God,
like seeing kids. Rabbit hole. So seeing like young teens and young adults like going up there and like humbling themselves in front of other kids and thinking like, oh, I need to be more like that as an adult.
Yeah.
Like, it was awesome. The music's awesome. The testimonies are awesome. The speakers are awesome. Like, it's just a really good time.
And we literally like got home at like 7 or 8 because it was further away that year. That night, went to bed.
And then got up next morning, and I got up early. Of course, I get church, but I got up early to go to the bathroom. And I was getting back to the bed, and I was like arm length away from the bed. I remember looking at it and thinking, I'm going to pass out. And the next thing I know, Morgan's like kind of like slapping me, like, Shane, wake up, wake up. And I get up, and I just kind of get up. And she was like, you passed out. I'm like, mark that off the bucket list. I passed out finally. Like, something happened. So, that's not something normal.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it started.
Mm-hmm.
And so of course we went to doctors. I can't remember what Casey.
Yeah. Let me just I have to give Casey Mallory props.
She's amazing.
I am telling you, no one took us seriously.
Mm-hmm.
We were too young.
He was too young. No one would even get him a CT scan. Like, it was a battle. And she literally called around until she got him an appointment with a GI doctor.
Wow.
And like the day I called her before I even called my parents, and I was like, I cannot thank you enough for pushing us, to get us in here, because
I'm telling you, God has given her a gift.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah. That's my sister-in-law for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah, that's the link there.
Didn't I say the other day she's my sister-in-law too?
Yeah, probably.
Didn't I? I think I tried saying that. But it's really, it's my brother-in-law's sister.
Yeah.
So I keep saying it's my sister-in-law.
She'll claim it.
I hope so. She might not. It's okay. So anyway, yeah. So I pass out. It's like, well, that's all. That's not right. Mm-hmm. So obviously, then we went to Casey and stuff, and she got me in the scans. They're trying to figure out why I'm passing out. So reason why is you're losing blood somewhere. So anyways, they did an endoscopy, and then that's when they did the colonoscopy, and then that's kind of where we're back to the story of all I wanted was hibachi. Yeah.